What if I told you that a simple Kennedy half-dollar, a coin many people ignore or spend without a second thought, could be at the center of million-dollar worth? It sounds impossible, right? Yet across the internet, collectors are buzzing about certain Kennedy half-dollars that are said to be worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, and according to the boldest claims, even $1 million. Are these just wild stories, or is there real treasure hiding in plain sight? Today, we're diving deep into 5 rare Kennedy half-dollars, and we're going to break them down one by one. You'll see why some of these coins are hunted by collectors, what makes them special, and how ordinary-looking half-dollars can suddenly become incredibly valuable. But here's the catch. The truth behind those million-dollar talks isn't what most people expect. So don't skip ahead. Watch till the very end, because the final Kennedy half-dollar on this list surprises almost everyone, and by the time we reveal the truth, you'll never look at a half-dollar the same way again. Let's start with our first coin in today's series. You might have heard whispers about million-dollar worth Kennedy half-dollars, stories floating around the internet claiming that an ordinary-looking coin pulled from pocket change could secretly be worth more than a luxury car, or even a mansion. Some people swear that a single Kennedy half-dollar sold for a life-changing amount, and others believe the U.S. Mint accidentally released coins so rare they were never meant to exist. Today, we're diving into one of the most talked-about coins in that rumor mill, the 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar. Stay with me till the very end, because we're going to separate hype from hard truth, and the real value might surprise you. The Kennedy half-dollar itself was born out of tragedy and history. After President John F. Kennedy's assassination in 1963, the U.S. Mint moved with unusual speed to honor him on a circulating coin. By 1964, his portrait replaced Benjamin Franklin on the half-dollar, creating one of the most emotionally powerful coins ever issued in the United States. The obverse features a strong, forward-looking profile of Kennedy designed by Gilroy Roberts, while the reverse carries Frank Gasparo's majestic presidential seal, an eagle with spread wings, clutching arrows, and an olive branch, symbolizing both strength and peace. By 1972, this design had already become iconic, recognized instantly across the country. Your coin, the 1972 D, was struck at the Denver Mint. That small D mint mark is the key identifier. This was a year of massive production. Over 141 million 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollars were minted, which already tells us something important. This coin was never rare in terms of quantity. By this time, Kennedy half-dollars were also no longer made of silver. Unlike the valuable 1964 silver issues or the 40% silver coins from 1965 to 1970, the 1972 D is a copper-nickel-clad coin, meaning its intrinsic metal value is very low. But here's where the suspense starts. Mintage alone does not tell the whole story. Collectors don't just look at dates, they look at condition, strike quality, and errors. A heavily circulated 1972 D half-dollar is usually worth face value, maybe slightly more. But as condition improves, so does the value. A clean example with minimal wear can sell for a few dollars. Uncirculated pieces, coins that never entered circulation, can range from $5 to $15, depending on how sharp the details are. When you reach higher mint state grades, especially coins graded MS-66 or MS-67 by professional grading services, values can jump dramatically into the hundreds of dollars. These are coins with blazing luster, razor-sharp details, and virtually no marks, and they are far scarcer than most people realize. Now let's talk about where the big money rumors really come from. The 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar is known among collectors for a handful of legitimate and fascinating mint errors. These include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, double strikes, and die cracks. Some dramatic errors have sold for several $100s, sometimes even over $1,000. That's real money, not hype, but it's still very far from $1 million. There's also confusion online with other Kennedy varieties and proof errors, which get incorrectly lumped in with normal 1972 D coins. That misinformation fuels the viral headlines. Before revealing the truth behind $1 million talk, it's important to understand this clearly. If your 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar is a normal coin with no major error and average condition, its realistic value stays modest. Even a very nice uncirculated example usually tops out well below $50 unless it's a top-tier graded specimen. The market simply has too many examples for prices to explode. That said, coins graded at the absolute highest levels, the kind that survive in near-perfect condition, can command serious collector premiums, and those are the pieces that spark exaggerated stories online. So here's the honest truth behind the million-dollar rumors. No regular 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar has ever sold for anywhere close to $1 million. Those claims are pure myth. However, and this is the part many people miss, rare mint errors, exceptional grades, and certified top population coins can be worth far more than most people expect. Not life-changing millions, but still impressive, legitimate collector value. That's what keeps people searching rolls, checking old collections, and holding on to these coins decades later. The 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar isn't a hidden jackpot for most owners, but it is a powerful piece of American history, a collector favorite, and in the right condition, a coin that could be worth many times its face value. And this is just the beginning. Because the next Kennedy half-dollars on your list, some of them tell a very different story, and one of them gets dangerously close to fueling those million-dollar dreams all over again. Let's move on our second coin in today's series. You might have heard whispers about million-dollar worth Kennedy half-dollars, claims that a modern-looking coin, something you might have received as change just a few years ago, could secretly be worth more than a house. Social media posts and clickbait videos love to say that certain late 1990s Kennedy half-dollars are rare, accidentally valuable, or one of a kind. And that brings us straight to today's coin, the 1998 D. Kennedy half-dollar. Before you assume it's just spare change, stay with me till the very end, because this coin sits right at the crossroads between pure myth and surprising reality. By 1998, the Kennedy half-dollar was no longer a daily sight in circulation, even though it was still officially produced for commerce. The design remained unchanged from its historic origins. John F. Kennedy's dignified profile on the front, a symbol of national remembrance and strength, and the powerful presidential seal on the back, with the eagle holding arrows and an olive branch. What many people don't realize is that by the late 1990s, most Americans weren't using half-dollars anymore. Banks rarely ordered them, and the public had largely forgotten them, which unintentionally changed how collectors view these coins today. Your 1998 D coin was struck at the Denver Mint, and once again, the mintage numbers tell part of the story. Over 61 million were produced, not tiny, but significantly lower than the massive mintages of the 1970s. These coins were also made of copper-nickel clad, not silver, so there's no hidden precious metal value here. Still, because so many were stored rather than spent, condition becomes the key factor that determines whether this coin is ordinary or desirable. In circulated condition, a 1998 D. Kennedy half-dollar is usually worth face value to about $1. That's the part people don't like to hear, but it's honest. However, once you move into uncirculated territory, the story starts to change. Clean, untouched examples commonly sell for $3 to $10, especially if they have strong luster and sharp details. Coins graded by professional services at higher mint state levels, MS66 or MS67, can climb into the $40 to $150 range, and in rare top population cases, prices can push even higher. That's a long way from pocket change. Now let's talk about why the internet gets excited about this coin. The 1998 D. Kennedy half-dollar is known for certain mint striking issues, including weak strikes and occasional die errors. Coins with off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, or dramatic die cracks are legitimately collectible and can sell for hundreds of dollars depending on severity. These real sales are often exaggerated online, twisted into wild stories about million-dollar discoveries. Add a blurry photo and a confident voice, and suddenly a $10 coin becomes legendary. Before we confront the million-dollar rumor head-on, it's important to understand something crucial. Modern coins almost never reach extreme values unless they are either incredibly rare errors or among the finest known examples on Earth. The 1998 D simply exists in too large a quantity for normal examples to explode in price. Even pristine coins face competition from thousands of others saved by collectors and dealers. So here's the honest truth. There is no verified case of a 1998 D. Kennedy half-dollar selling for anything close to $1 million. That part is pure fiction. But, and this is why people keep checking their coins, error examples and top-grade certified coins are genuinely valuable and can bring impressive prices. Not fantasy money, but real, documented collector demand. The excitement doesn't come from silver or age, it comes from rarity within perfection. The 1998 D. Kennedy half-dollar isn't a secret fortune for most people, but it is a modern sleeper coin that rewards condition, careful inspection, and patience. And as we move through the rest of your Kennedy half dollars, you'll see how just a few changes in year, mint, and circumstance can completely shift the value story. The next one on your list. That's where things start to get even more interesting. Let's move on our third coin in today's series. You might have heard whispers about $1,000,000 worth Kennedy half dollars, stories claiming that even an older-looking coin from the 1980s could secretly be a collector's dream, hiding an unbelievable price tag behind an ordinary appearance. Some collectors insist that certain Philadelphia minted Kennedy halves are special, while others believe the mint released rare varieties without anyone noticing. And that brings us to the 1986 P. Kennedy half dollar. Before you dismiss it as just another old coin, watch till the very end, because this year holds a few twists that keep the rumors alive. The Kennedy half dollar design in 1986 was still the same powerful tribute created in the aftermath of President Kennedy's assassination. His calm but determined portrait faces left on the front, with "Liberty" arching above and "In God We Trust" below. The reverse shows the presidential seal, a symbol packed with meaning, the eagle's wings spread wide, clutching arrows and an olive branch, representing readiness for war but preference for peace. By the mid-1980s, this design had become one of the most recognizable in U.S. coinage, even though the coin itself was rarely seen in everyday transactions. Your 1986 P coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally did not use a mint mark on circulating coins during that era. Production numbers were healthy, with over 13 million business strike coins minted, a much lower figure than many 1970s issues, but still far from rare. Like all regular Kennedy half dollars after 1970, the 1986 P is a copper-nickel-clad coin, not silver. That fact alone is often where disappointment sets in, but value doesn't end with metal content. In circulated condition, most 1986 P. Kennedy half dollars trade for face value to about $1. However, once you step into uncirculated condition, the picture changes. Coins that never entered circulation and retain their original mint luster typically sell for $2 to $8. As the grade climbs higher, especially into the MS-66 and MS-67 range, values can reach $30, $60, or even over $100 for exceptionally clean examples. These high-grade coins are far scarcer than people expect, because many Philadelphia issues from this era were stored loosely and picked up marks easily. So where do the big rumors come from? The 1986 P. Kennedy half dollar occasionally shows up with legitimate mint errors, things like off-center strikes, broad strikes, double strikes, and dramatic die cracks. Some error coins have sold for hundreds of dollars, especially when the mistake is visually obvious and well documented. These real sales are often misunderstood or exaggerated online, turning rare but realistic prices into wild, $1,000,000 coin headlines. Before we address the $1,000,000 claims directly, there's one more detail that matters: proof coins. In 1986, proof Kennedy half dollars were also struck in San Francisco, and while proof errors can be valuable, they are a completely different category from regular Philadelphia business strikes. Many online listings confuse the two, fueling even more misinformation. Now for the honest truth. No normal 1986 P. Kennedy half dollar has ever been worth anywhere near $1,000,000. That rumor simply isn't real. But here's what is real: top-grade certified coins and genuine mint errors can be worth far more than face value, sometimes dramatically so. The value comes from scarcity within condition, not from secret silver or forgotten treasure. The 1986 P. Kennedy half dollar isn't a hidden jackpot, but it is a strong collector coin when found in exceptional shape. It represents a period when half dollars quietly slipped out of everyday use, making high-quality survivors harder to find than most people think. And coming up next on your list is another Kennedy half dollar that continues to confuse collectors and keeps the rumor machine spinning just as loudly. Let's move on our fourth coin in today's series. You might have heard whispers about $1,000,000 worth Kennedy half dollars, claims that even a 1990s coin, something that doesn't look old or rare at all, could somehow be hiding an unbelievable price tag. Videos and posts online love to suggest that certain Denver-minted Kennedy halves were struck in tiny numbers or escaped with secret errors that make them priceless today. And that brings us to the 1993 D. Kennedy half dollar. Before you assume it's just another modern coin, stay with me till the very end, because the real story behind its value is more layered than the rumors make it seem. By 1993, the Kennedy half dollar had already become more of a collector's item than a circulating coin. The design was still the iconic tribute introduced in 1964, Kennedy's portrait on the obverse, dignified and instantly recognizable, and the presidential seal on the reverse, packed with symbolism and detail. Even though the design hadn't changed, the way people interacted with this coin had. Half dollars were rarely used in daily life, which quietly affected how many actually entered circulation. Your 1993 D was struck at the Denver Mint, and this year is interesting because production numbers were lower than many earlier decades. Just over 20 million business strike coins were minted, not rare, but far from excessive. Like other post, 1970 Kennedy half dollars, it's made of copper-nickel clad, not silver. There's no precious metal hiding inside, but condition and strike quality once again play a huge role in value. In worn or circulated condition, a 1993 D Kennedy half dollar typically sells for face value to around $1. That's the baseline reality. But uncirculated coins tell a different story. Clean examples with strong luster often sell for $3 to $10, while coins graded at higher mint state levels can climb into the $40 to $100 plus range. Coins graded MS-67 or higher are genuinely scarce and actively sought by collectors who build high-quality Kennedy half-dollar sets. Now here's where the internet excitement kicks in. The 1993 D is known for occasional mint errors, including off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and noticeable die cracks. Some dramatic error examples have sold for several $100s, and in rare cases even more. These legitimate sales are often taken out of context and turned into exaggerated stories that make it sound like any 1993 D coin could be worth a fortune, which simply isn't true. Before revealing the truth about the million-dollar rumors, it's important to understand one key fact. Modern coins rarely reach extreme prices unless they are either extraordinarily rare errors or among the absolute finest known examples. The 1993 D, while collectible, exists in enough quantity that normal examples can't skyrocket in value no matter how popular the series becomes. So here's the honest reality. There is no verified sale of a 1993 D Kennedy half dollar anywhere near $1 million. Those claims are pure myth. However, top-grade certified coins and serious mint errors can be worth far more than most people expect. Real money, not fantasy, driven by collector demand. That's the line between hype and truth. The 1993 D Kennedy half dollar isn't a secret treasure for most owners, but it's an excellent example of how condition and rarity within a modern series can still create real value. And now there's just one coin left on your list, and it's one that often gets misunderstood more than almost any other Kennedy half dollar of its era. Let's move on our fifth coin in today's series. You might have heard whispers about million-dollar worth Kennedy half dollars, rumors claiming that coins from the year 2000, struck right at the turn of the millennium, were somehow special, secret, or accidentally rare. Some say the U.S. Mint changed things quietly, others believe collectors missed something historic, and a few even claim that millennium-era coins are future gold mines. That's exactly why the 2000p Kennedy half dollar keeps popping up in viral posts. But before you believe the hype, stay with me till the very end, because this coin story is one of the most misunderstood of them all. By the year 2000, the Kennedy half dollar had officially stepped away from everyday circulation. Although it was still a legal circulating coin, the U.S. Mint mainly produced half dollars for collectors, not for daily spending. The design remained the powerful classic introduced in 1964, John F. Kennedy's portrait on the front, symbolizing legacy and leadership, and the presidential seal on the back, representing national strength and unity. But what made the year 2000 different wasn't the design, it was how the coin was distributed. Your 2000p coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and here's the key detail most people miss. 2000 Kennedy half dollars were not released into general circulation. They were sold almost exclusively in mint sets. That single fact instantly makes this coin more interesting than many earlier modern issues. The total mintage for the 2000p business strike was just over 3.9 million coins, which is extremely low compared to most Kennedy half dollars. The composition, however, remained copper-nickel clad, not silver, so again, value comes from scarcity and condition, not metal content. Because these coins were never meant for circulation, most surviving examples are in uncirculated condition. Even so, values vary. Typical uncirculated 2000p Kennedy half dollars often sell for $5 to $15, depending on luster and overall eye appeal. As you move into higher certified grades like MS-66 and MS-67, prices can rise into the $50 to $200 range. Top population coins, the finest known examples, have sold for even more, because collectors competing for registry sets are willing to pay strong premiums. So where do the million-dollar rumors come from? It's a mix of the low mintage, the millennium date, and confusion with rare error coins. The 2000p Kennedy half-dollar does have documented mint errors, including off-center strikes, die clashes, and clipped planchets. Dramatic error examples can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on severity and eye appeal. Those real sales often get twisted online into exaggerated claims that any 2000p coin is worth a fortune. Before revealing the truth behind a million-dollar talk, it's important to understand this clearly. Even low-mintage modern coins rarely explode in value unless demand massively outweighs supply. While 3.9 million coins is low for a Kennedy half-dollar, it's still far from rare enough to support seven-figure prices for normal examples. So here's the honest truth. No standard 2000p Kennedy half-dollar has ever been worth $1 million. That rumor is false. However, and this is why the coin still matters, the 2000p is one of the key modern dates in the Kennedy half-dollar series. Its low mintage, collector-only release, and strong demand make it genuinely valuable compared to many nearby years. It's not a fantasy jackpot, but it is a real collector coin with lasting appeal. The 2000p Kennedy half-dollar proves that value doesn't always come from silver or age. Sometimes it comes from timing, scarcity, and how a coin quietly slipped past the public eye. And if you've been holding on to one, now you finally know the truth behind the rumors, and why this coin still deserves respect in any Kennedy half-dollar collection.